Okay, so try not to get emotional. It's a bit of a big video. I'm trying to make it as factual as possible. So obviously, if anybody else is going through the same experience, I've had quite a lot of contact with NDS. I've got a fair amount of knowledge. I mean, not legal stuff, but a fair amount of knowledge of kind of what's right, what's wrong, those kind of things. So yeah, if I can be of help at all, then yeah, hopefully it won't just be a load of waffle and it'll be quite informative. So yesterday I got Jane's draft finally, which technically it's only about 3 weeks behind, which that's pretty amazing for Worcestershire. But in terms of, if you think like it was January that I first applied, with the mediation and everything else, it has seemed like a really, really long time. Yeah, best possible outcome. He hasn't just got, I was told by school and by, oh, don't expect more than like 20 hours. You probably won't even get that. You might get 15. He has got, I'm waiting for the wording to be clarified, but he has got full-time one-to-one, including, I get like emotion, I am like tearing up a bit, but he has got full-time one-to-one from the second that he steps through the gate in the morning until the second he leaves. He's got, yeah, through unstructured times as well, which is getting quite rare, to help him kind of navigate social situations, manage his emotions and that kind of thing. So that is huge. So the reason it's a roller coaster of emotions for me, I don't know whether this is the same for everybody. Everything is in this kind of world anyway. It's obviously like diagnosis and everything else is a not that this has been by any means easy, but I just kind of like, I was told for years like that he wouldn't get this, he wouldn't get that, he wouldn't, and now I'm like, he's got this, and this is what he should have had when he entered GR. We're in key stage 2 now, which is this is why I did it when I did it, because obviously he's in key stage 2 now, which is it's a whole different ball game. The work, everything else, the social situations, everything is getting more difficult, and he is struggling more. But I just wish that he had it when he deserved it, which is when he was younger. But yeah, we are getting somewhere. It's not obviously going to happen overnight. So yeah, the draft is, it's very, very similar to the EdPsych report. The majority of things, like I was just talking to Sandy and she was like, oh, go through the highlighter and like which bits have come from where, like with the EdPsych report, quotes other reports anyway. So pretty much everything that's in there is pretty much straight for the EdPsych. But I can go back through, try and do this fairly slowly and so that you can kind of keep up. So yeah, what I'm going to do first of all is cross-reference everything. So go through each report and cross-reference kind of the most important parts that are in there, and then if obviously anything that isn't in there, if there's any wording. Say, for example, she said, like, if it says he has needs, but in the report it says complex needs, I think it does in I think it pretty much says complex needs in everything anyway, but if there were things where it maybe sounds more severe and that kind of thing in the report, then it doesn't be Ehcp, get that wording changed. If it's not quantified, this is the biggest, I keep using this word, quantifiable. Like the one-to-one, if it just said, which at the moment it says one-to-one support during learning tasks and during unstructured times, which that to me is very open to interpretation, because they could potentially say certain lessons, I mean everything's learning, but do you know what I mean, they could say, well, that just means phonics and maths, or so it could be open to interpretation. So I'm having the words full-time added in. So yeah, that's the first thing. I've also been told, I didn't know that this was a thing that you could do. I mean, you could do obviously a subject access request, which I've done for bigger things in the past, but I did it for school. For like a shoot for like the whole years that they were in school, but you can request, so I have this morning requested all communications and consultations from them. So obviously I've got all the reports that were used for it, but obviously where they have spoken to school and that kind of thing, they will have already asked school, do you think you can meet need, even though they haven't had some of the reports. School will have been asked whether or not they think they can meet need, what that's based on, if they can or can't, and that kind of thing. And obviously any other communication with other schools, because they could have, even at this point, they may or may not have done. I don't know whether I was asked whether or not I was happy with his school or whether I wanted him to stay in that school. There are bits in it that allude, is that the right word? It says he should be in a mainstream setting in terms of social integration and that kind of thing, but it also says that he should be surrounded by staff who are highly specialised and that he should be in small groups, so this kind of the other. So we think maybe that what it's kind of saying is potentially he would be better in a mainstream school with an autism base. I don't know how I feel about that because it's quite segregated, is that the word? At the moment, I want him to stay where he is. If for no other reason, I will say obviously he's moved already. He's already been in 2 primary schools. I don't want him to be moving all the time. He is quite settled where he is. He's got his twin sister there. But yeah, so from the communications consultations, I will get a clearer picture of what they are thinking, essentially. And also, the funding band hasn't been included yet. So I've requested to know the funding band because, again, that will give me a better idea of kind of what's going on. School can negotiate funding. School have already said yesterday, well, potentially, what if it says full time, but then they only give us £5,000? Not my problem. If it says full time, it's full time. You magic the money up from somewhere. I don't know what to tell you. That's just so they'd essentially have. It does seem ridiculous, doesn't it? So then they'd essentially be getting £11,000 for him, but have to pay a full time wage, and obviously anything else that he needs. So yeah, level. That I think that's level E2 is like an additional £5,000 on top of the nominal £6,000. Is that what it's called? Nominal, something like that. E3 is an additional £10,000, so that would be closer to, that would be £16,000. Still doesn't really cover a full-time wage. Obviously full-time wage isn't, it's a TA, it's not a good wage, it's about, bare minimum wage. But yeah, funding band. So yeah, we are in a really good position in theory. There were a couple of websites again that she mentioned to go through and cross-reference things. So SOSSEN, which is a private, it's one of the private ones, but it's not something that you pay for. They just have kind of checklists to kind of go through and make sure that you're happy with everything. And Ehcp, which Ehcp is they have pretty much everything on there. And she also said to do as much training as possible in terms of knowing your rights, the laws, all those kind of things. So yeah, it's just doing all of that, all the cross-referencing, all the amendments that I want, and then requesting amendments, and then waiting for it all to be finalised, and then obviously starting the recruitment process, which I think I did mention this in a previous video, but there's a huge national shortage. So I have said like what happens, because school have already said, don't expect it to happen overnight, blah blah blah. We're going to struggle to recruit. Again, not really my problem. If it's legally in black and white that this is what he's entitled to, then this is what he will have. We need to be proactive about it. Just saying it's on the school website, they're not going to come jumping, biting your hand off. We'll go out, we'll find somebody, and it will be somebody with the specialist, because that's the main thing at the moment. Obviously they have TAs, but they're general classroom TAs. They're not autism or complex needs specialists. So yeah, it will all get put in place. I was half expecting to be waiting to be going to tribunal or something, so it is such a relief to be kind of getting more than what I was expecting. I was expecting 20 hours, and I was like, we're going to have to juggle it because he needs it at unstructured times, but then you're kind of would be taking away from learning time, so it was going to be like a real juggle. So yeah, to have full time is just amazing. Yeah, so it's a bit of a waiting game now as well, just to kind of get it all completed, get it signed off and everything. But such a relief, such a huge relief. In no means, going to be plain sailing from here on in, but just knowing that we're getting the ball rolling and getting somewhere finally is just huge.